Maybe after this little piece, we could dispense with this part.
Oh, we like this part, Jonathan. Sorry. We're waiting for other people, right? Oh.
Yeah, we got time. Oh,
Hi, Judy. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Liz. This is
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Doing okay, Tanya?
we're very bored.
Hello. Nice to see you all.
Yeah.
Hi.
It looks
Hi,
like
Ivy.
the world has shrunk into a screen of
Hollywood Squares.
There you go.
Okay.
The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. Yeah.
Okay, Dan, I think we can start. I was trying to get it live on Facebook, but there is an error message.
So,
It seems like it doesn't work, so we're just going to skip it and you can start.
all right. Okay. So let's do it. Okay. Hi, everyone. Before we begin, just make sure you are on mute, and that would be the easiest way to make it happen. And if anybody needs help with the mute button, then Gil is still here to help him, because I am still clueless with how to work everything here properly. And I do apologize in advance that sometimes we'll go from Google Maps back to the presentation, back and forth. So you're just gonna have to bear with me on that. We'll have time for a Q&A if there will be any of those later on. So you have a chat. You can write your questions in the chat, and we'll try to address everything at the end. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for Partnership Together for doing this. And unfortunately, with this situation, it cannot be live, and we cannot go to actually see where things actually happen. But I hope that through this presentation, we can do the best with that. I'm from Rosh Hashanah. For those who don't know me, it's a kibbutz. It's the most northern western community of Israel on the border with Lebanon. And I grew up here and lived here all my life, except for when I'm traveling. I am a tour guide at my profession. I also work as a guide at the Ghetto Fighters House. And if any of you have not visited there, then when this Corona thing will be over, please make sure to be there too. My connection to the partnership has started 8 years ago, when I was recruited by Eliad Eliyahu and Shushan, who took me and made me a part of a young adults team. And we started off with a seminar called the Alternative Spring Break. And that was the first seminar that I was a part of. Later on, we had a few more seminars, like in Indianapolis, where we had the advocacy and so on, where we had the ability, the partnership gave us the ability to create a young adults team, a young adults forum. And later on, when the strategical assessment happened, and they decided to create an actual committee for young adults. So today I'm very proud to be the first Israeli co-chair of the Young Adults Committee, with my co-chairs of Nancy Schwartz from Fort Worth as the chair for the American side, and István Balson from Hungary, as we are also the first one in our partnership to have a chair from Hungary. So we're extremely proud of that. And for those of you who don't really sure what the partnership is, then I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it later. And obviously you have your friends, and we have Heidi, and we have Gil, and we have Danit, and we have so many people that can answer all of your questions to ensure you're a part of this amazing community that we have with the Western Galilee wherever you are. So I think we're just gonna dive in, and hopefully you'll enjoy, and good luck to me. So screen and share. Okay. All right. So, like every good show, like every good match or whatever, it has to have sponsors. So we start off with this virtual tour is sponsored by Partnership Together, your home in the Western Galilee. So this is where we start. We begin at the Western Galilee, the beautiful, the magnificent Western Galilee. And, you know, not by chance, wait. Okay, sorry. Sometimes technical issues will occur, hopefully not too much. But I chose, obviously, this picture because it showed my kibbutz over here at the bottom, but you just see how beautiful the Western Galilee is. And if I have to choose another spot to stand and to understand how the Western Galilee looks, I would actually go to a beautiful place called the Arched Cave. So when you look from the Keshet Cave, you can see all of the Western Galilee. Over here, it's Mount Carmel. That's Haifa. And you can see the Mediterranean. You can see the Kibbutzim. You can see the Moshavim. You can see the city of Nahariya. You can see the city of Akko. It's just so magnificent, so beautiful. Everything is green. All the green is embedded with the communities of the Western Galilee. And so when we go back, the Western Galilee is basically a part of the Upper Galilee, and there's some parts of the Lower Galilee. But we're talking about a specific region that we call the coastline plain. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this region, about our region right here, which is in the coastal plain. One of the things is that, you know, in Israel, most of the trees were planted by JNF. But here in the Western Galilee, we have a lot of native forest and bush, Mediterranean bush. And you can see on the map how it's being divided between the Galilees. But what I wanted to show you, which I think is the most impressive thing that you can have in the Western Galilee, is the people. That's what makes the Western Galilee so unique and so special and so amazing and mesmerizing for everyone who comes to visit. It's the people. And so you have Jews who live in the Western Galilee. You have it like in cities like Nahariya and like Akko. You have kibbutzim, like my kibbutz over here, or kibbutzim in the southern part of the Western Galilee and our regional council of Mateh Asher, like Kfar Masarik. And you have Muslims who live in the Western Galilee. You have Christians who live, for example, if I take Kfar Yassif, it's a mixed village of Muslims and Christians. And you have Druze villages, and you have Bedouins. For example, you have a Bedouin village over here next to the Keshet Cave. It's called Arab El Aramshe. And also you have Baha'is. The Baha'i religion, the most sacred place for Baha'i religion is not Haifa, actually. It's in Akko. So that's also a part of us. If we go back to history, the Western Galilee is well embedded in the history of the world, but definitely in what we talk about for us as Jews and later on for the state of Israel. But if I go back to somewhat of the beginning of history that we can talk about in terms of this region, if you all take a look, we have, I'll use this spotlight. We have here Asher tribe. Let's try to move this. Oh, better, much better. So we have here the Asher tribe, and when all the 12 tribes were taking their places, the Asher people were somewhat of sea people, and then it was very easy for them to settle in this region. And from that tribe, from that person of Asher, we have today the regional council of Mate Asher. And one of the things that were made here were very special, because we have findings of this industry that was created here in this region and in the coastline of Israel. So if I go over here, I go back to Rosh Hanikra, and over here I can see something that is very, very unique. I can see a pool. Okay, so I can see this pool, and it was man-made. It was not, it's not a natural pool. And you can see some like this stairs, and you can see how the shape of it is not regular. And if I look a little bit to the right, you can see there's a little bit more. And you can find those types of pools all around the coastline of Israel. And what the Israelites used to do is they used to take this type of snail, and they used to extract this material from the snail and create the color blue. And why is it so important for the Israelites at that time to do that? Well, you need to have that for the talus. You need to have that blue for that exterior part. And so that was a very important industry that the Israelites, and before that the Canaanites, and even later on the Phoenicians would use. And all of that is here in our region. And some of you can obviously recognize the grottos over here. So it's not that far away. Many conquerors came through this region. The most well-known, I think, is Alexander the Great. But in our region, there were also a lot of interesting people like crusaders. So the crusaders, actually, they were a big part of a bigger kingdom that was in the land of Israel. So there was the first kingdom, that was the kingdom of Jerusalem. But in the second kingdom, after Salah ad-Din was ruling the land of Israel, when they came back, they had a different capital, and that capital was Akko. And around Akko, we have few fortresses that you can visit today. So we have the Monfort fortress, we have Yechiam fortress right here, and we have the fortress in Ma'ilya, all beautiful. And I think, I was trying to think of a way to make you all visit there. So I used this. It's just a remarkable view of the Monfort fortress. And you can see the Kziv Vadi going down. You can see the stream going. And it's just so remarkable. It is such a beautiful place to hike. It's not an easy hike, I have to admit, but it's just worth it. It's just beautiful. And also, if you go to a place called Park Goren, so Goren Park, you can have a very easy hike, and there are viewpoints, like lookout points, where you can see this marvelous piece of engineering that stayed here from that time of the Crusaders. And going back. Not only that, they needed a lot of income. We had here the Templars, the Hospitallars, the Teutonians, and they needed revenue. So there is a place in the Western Galilee, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, it's called Ein Afek. And in Ein Afek, you have this. And this is a reconstruction of an old flour mill that Crusader used to use. And over here, it doesn't look like very much, but it is something that they use to create sugar. They used to bring sugar canes, and it was this type of factory that creates sugar from those sugar canes, and it was all being used in this region. And all of the things that I'm showing you right now are here. So next time when you're coming to the Western Galilee, I hope that you will remember all those places that usually we don't go and see when we're coming to visit with the partnership. Oh, and yes, okay. So when we want to go next in history towards our main topic of today, so we're using this. I bet that no one has this type of passport. Neither do I, and I am currently thinking of how can I get one and see if it will fit or not. But you know, British mandate is when our story actually happens. It's when we're talking about the people and all the occurrences that happen. It's in the time of the British mandate. So the occupation of the land of Israel was in 1917. General Allenby is coming, and they're occupying the land of Israel from the Turkish, from the Ottoman Empire. But they actually get the mandate for Israel only in 1922. And there is a very strange development in terms of the approach and the settlements of Jews in the land of Israel throughout the years of the British mandate, because we began in 1917 with the Balfour Declaration, so a national home for the Jewish people. But by the end, the mandate ends. We have few white books, and those white books basically put restrictions and hard restrictions on immigration, about settlements. It's very hard for the Jews to create a community and a land under the British mandate. But again, it's a full course in the university, so we're not going to go deep into that. But what I wanted to show you is the understanding of the population. So with the beginning of the mandate in 1922, we have 600,000 Muslims. We have 80,000 Jews, and we have 70,000 Christians. And in this map, as you can see, most of it is green. Green is the color that is ruling, and that is the Arab population. And there are several places in the land of Israel, like this right here, which is the Israel Valley, which you have more settlements. And if we look at this map, we can see where Jews used to settle, and it's almost as the same as this map if we talk about the Israel Valley, if we talk about the coastline, and if you look at our region, there's barely any. There's barely, it's almost empty. When I look at this map, you can see the percentages, and there were almost no Jews. So this is a rough map of the Western Galilee. And when we talk about the Western Galilee in the British Mandate time, so we have the first community, we have the community of Nahariya, the city of Nahariya. Most of you have been here, have slept there, and was started off in 1935. We have Shavei Zion. Remember the Breakfast Club? Okay, Shavei Zion. So we have Regba, where the big is, and Tanya lives. We have the Kibbutz Matsuba, we have Kibbutz Chanita, we have Kibbutz Eilon, and we have Kibbutz Yechiam. So 7 very small Jewish communities, approximately 1,000 people, and those places were very, very isolated and then sieged. We're going to come back to that. And over here, we have 13 medium to large Arab villages. And in this latest research that was made, they are talking about approximately 13,500 people. Why is this so important? Because we have to see the distances between those communities. And that's a great challenge that they have. And so we go to the first operation, who is extremely important for settling Jews all around Israel. So Operation Wall and Tower, in Hebrew, Choma u'Migdal. It started off because of the Great Arab Revolt between 1936 to 1939. And the legal base for settling the Jews was actually on a Turkish Ottoman law that stated that illegal buildings with a roof on top of it cannot be demolished. All of this operation was not exactly authorized, but the British knew. And for some of those communities, they even supported their creation. It was in daytime. It wasn't in the middle of the night like a thief coming trying to steal something. No, it was actually well known and it was being done. But the purpose of creating so many communities, 52 in those 3 years, it was the purpose of security. It's creating the borders of a Jewish state that was supposed to be. Because in 1937, we have the Peel Committee, P-E-E-L. So the Peel Committee, they stated that the state of Israel would be all of this region. Like if we try to visualize it, it looks like an N. All right. So that's why you have to create those communities in order to keep the ground Jewish, for hopefully a Jewish state that will be founded because of the Peel Committee. But then later on came different committees that determined that it's not the situation. So the symbol of this whole wall and tower operation is actually the kibbutz right here, the most northern kibbutz, Kibbutz Chanita. And I hope you know, like, Julius Distillery. Okay, if you haven't met him, you have to bring him to your community, or when you're coming to Israel, you have to visit his distillery. So we have Chanita, and this right here, this is an authentic picture, obviously, of how Chanita used to look at that time. And as you can see, there's also not a lot of trees like you can have today because of the plantation that was being done by JNF. And I want to show you a really cool video that I found it on YouTube. And we're not going to watch the whole 9 minutes, obviously, but Chanita, you need to understand, that was the symbol. And it was very, very unique because Chanita, first of all, there was the British Mandate border. That was the first one to get out of that border. It was the biggest effort of the Jews in the land of Israel to settle, because it's, first of all, it's settling on a mountain. It's not settling on the plain. Okay, it has the most people over there, and if you need a link later on for the YouTube video, I'll be more than happy to share it. And so when we go back to Chanita, so they came, about 400 people. They left around 100 to keep there. And it was the 21st of March, 1938. That's where they started at what we call Lower Chanita. And then they built this type of road to the upper part of Chanita, as like you know today. And that was the 8th of April, the month next. And 100 people stayed. Also, Chanita is well known because this is the only place in this operation of wall and tower that they had dead people. Around 10 defenders were killed with shooting with the Arabs from the area. So Chanita just became that symbol. This picture right here is what we have today. as what we have today. And you can go and take a look, and I'll try, and hopefully it will work properly, because I need to shut this down, and this thing is also like very annoying, but we're gonna do our best. For some reason I don't see it. Okay, never mind, it's not that important. But so this place right here, improvisation is very important always when you do something like this. So when you go to Chanita, you have a right turn. Okay, you turn right, and then you can go on a road through the trees, and you come to this place. And usually there's a lot of people doing picnic, and it's just a great place to see where it all started. And again, this is a great place to start. And also in the kibbutz itself, they have a museum. It's a gorgeous museum. I would definitely go there. The second operation that we're going to talk about is the operation that initially we were supposed to do a live video, and we were supposed to talk about this operation and see everything on site, but Corona. So we're talking about Operation Malkolet, the Night of the Bridges. We're talking about a time where we're just right after the Holocaust, okay? Right after the Holocaust, there were a lot of immigrants wanting to come to the land of Israel, but because of the White Book, it was not allowed, and those immigrants would have to come illegally, or if they were caught, they would be sent to a detention camp or to Cyprus, to those types of camps. In this period of time, there were three major Jewish resistance groups in Israel. But there was this 9-month period when those three resistance groups worked together. It's not that the Haganah people worked at the same unit like Etzel or Lehi people, but they had like a strategic alliance of what we should do and how and when. And what they decided, because of all the restrictions, so as you can see, is we have the objectives to show, that we're post-Holocaust, we need to do something. Show the British that the Yishuv, the community, the settlements, they have military power, they have operational ability throughout the land, even in desolate areas, and in the center of Arab population. The British are the greatest empire and the most powerful nation, obviously, in the Middle East. So it's not just to show that, there are some Jews that can do stuff. No, this is more than just a tiny resistance group. We can actually fight. We can do something. And yes, it's to encourage the population. The Jewish population was disappointed because there was the Woodhead Commission that came and said, you know what, the Pil Committee, they made a mistake. And they said that Israel should be divided like this and like that. And they said, no, now we have to rethink about everything. So we have here next to Gaza 2 bridges. We have the Allenby Bridge. We have the Damia Bridge over here next to Bet Shan. We have the bridge not far away from the Sea of Galilee. We have the bridge on the Elmul, Daughters of Jacob Bridge above the Sea of Galilee. And we have more next to Metula. And our story is actually talking about those 2 bridges, the Achziv bridges right here. And this is our partnership home. This is our partnership center. And I really hope you all know it. And if you don't, then you need to come and visit. But the reason I'm showing you this is very, very specific. Because when we look at Google Maps, you can see that it's not here. That's unfortunately when it was shot by Google. It didn't exist. So imagine that if we go out, okay, out of the partnership center, and we start our driving towards Gesher Aziv, so south. It's just a minute drive, not more than that. It just looks long because of a Google map. So we pass all this, the road that you all know, a road that you all have been taking for so many times. But I have no idea how many of you know that on this road right here, we have a monument. And it's not just a monument, it's a burial ground for 14 soldiers, which we're going to talk about. And over here there is the bridge that we're gonna talk about. So, like I said, we have a monument right here. So it's a monument for the 14. Yad LaYudalid. Okay, so Yad LaYad, but Yudalid is 14 when you do the calculation. And this is already June of 1946. And hopefully this YouTube video will not create too much of a problem. So it was a night, and this group, commanding by Nehemiah Shine, coming, they had tons of explosives. Like really, it was a lot. It's around 700 pounds of explosive with them. And they're coming at night. Not far away from there is a station of the British police. What you can see right now is a shooting of where we would have gone if it was allowed to be outside. And we would walk this path right here. And there is a police station not far away from there. And unfortunately, the group was identified and a shooting has started. One of the people who got killed because of the shooting is a guy named Yechiam Weitz. Yechiam Weitz, Yechiam, the name should ring a bell because of the kibbutz. So because of his death, the kibbutz that was established called Yechiam. So he killed on the spot, but nobody exactly knows what happened, because there was all of a sudden a huge explosion of all that material, of all that explosives that they brought, and it killed 13 other warriors that came to this operation. From the night of the bridges, this is the only time that there was people dead. It was the only time that the bridges were not exploded, and this is what they wanted to achieve. So the ones who survived this this night, they run away to Chanita, all the way to Chanita, and they're trying to find a hideout. And they find one actually in a cave not far away from Chanita, and they're just staying there and waiting until the British would figure out what happened and trying to track down all the people who are involved. And they're just staying there, and the communities like Matsuba, like Chanita, covering for them. In the morning, after the failure of this operation, the British are coming, and it's a huge disaster that they see. So they bring the Chevra Kadisha So already back then in 46, we have Chevra Kadisha, and they are coming and collecting everything that they can collect, and they bring it to a burial in the city of Haifa. In 1968, there is a decision to take out what all the remains that was left from that grave and bring it to the spot where they fought, where they fell. And in 1968, they built the memorial here and bury all the remains. What's interesting is because of this unknown story that for some reason was discovered by a son of a son of this Arabic guy who was an informant for the Haganah, said that there is more body parts that were collected and were taken to burial, and they're in Kibbutz Matsuva. There is a very interesting woman from Kibbutz Lochamei HaGetoim, from the Ghetto Fighters Kibbutz, that did a full research on that, and in 2003, they have found the remains of what was left from 46 that was buried in Matsuba, and nobody knew about it. And in 2003, they came and they brought it and they buried it once again right here. So you have 14 tombs, but it's just one big tomb for everybody, but 14 for all of them who fell. And Yechim Weitz is actually not buried here. He was buried in Mount of Olives. If we go with our time chronologically, as we're doing right now, we go to the plan of the partition in 1947. And as you can see, this N that I was talking about, okay? What's most important is that if we look right here, this yellow, orangey, disgusting color, this would be a part of the Arabic state. All of the Western Galilee is out of the Jewish state. That was a devastating decision for the communities like Chanita, like Matsuba, like Eilon, all those communities that we talked about before. It was devastating. It was devastating news. And because of that, there were a few more things that happened. One of them happened in obviously the most beautiful place in Israel, as you can see, my home, Rosh Hashanah. And over here, we can see troops, soldiers from New Zealand that are standing. And at the night of between the 14th and the 15th of March, 1948, this tiny unit came and wait. Where is it? Wait. Okay, let's do it again. Let's try it again. All right. Okay, wonderful. So you see the same picture as you can see in the picture. So it's the 10th Brigade of the New Zealand Railway Company, and they are the ones who built this bridge right here. So this unit are coming at night. It was a stormy night, a rainy night. I'm sure a lot of you have heard me talking about this while guiding you in the grottos over here. And they're coming and they're putting their explosive on both sides, and they couldn't put it under. The original bridge, you cannot see it right here. You have to stand at the side in order to see it. And they're putting their explosive and they're waiting for it to be bombed. But the problem is that it's just not exploding well, and it doesn't destroy the bridge. But the train tracks are distorted, and so it's just great for them. And why do I mention the specific unit is because they're a part of a bigger brigade that is called the Carmeli Brigade. And we're going to talk about them because they're going to show in our next two major events. And so the next major event is a very unfortunate case of the Yechiam Convoy Memorial. And basically, we have to understand those communities are sieged. And the only way to give them life is by taking a type of armed cars, like armed buses like that, or trucks, and just bring them supplies. And in that month, the convoy of Yechiam would be a negative record for a month of convoys like that falling all around Israel, like Nebi Daniel and Hulda. And the result of this disaster would bring a change of approach with the Jewish leadership of how do we fight, how do we do things here in the land of Israel. And they come up with the D plan and the Operation Nachshon, which was to conquer the way to Jerusalem and to free Jerusalem from the siege that it was there. So when you're driving to Jerusalem, also at the sides, you have these types of vehicles. And so on the 26th of March, there is one convoy that is coming to Chanita, to Matsuba, to Eilon. Everything is fine. But a day after, on the 27th, and we're not going to talk about the intelligence failure, if they knew or didn't know, and most of anything, you cannot judge this by military standards of today. So on the 27th of March, convoy that is coming out from Nahariya of 7 vehicles with 87 warriors. In this convoy, you have the convoy commander, Idan Zaccai, and you have also Ben Ami Fechter, which was a brigade commander, the 21st Brigade commander of Carmeli. And when we, okay. So what happened is, this is how the site looks right now. This is, if you want to visit, you would come, you would park your car over here, and you would come and walk this path right here. So they tried to come through from Nahariya to Yechiam. It's almost like envision this straight line, and this is one of the memorials. And they would come, and over there is an old Arab village. It was a big and strong Arab village of Kabri before what we know, Al-Kabri, before the kibbutz Kabri. And it was a really, really hard ambush. It was a terrible battle. It was just really, really dreadful results of 46 soldiers who are dying, and 45 were buried in Nahariya, and Idan Zaccai, the commander, is buried in Yechiam. The first vehicle from the seventh car in the convoy managed to get to Yechiam, but the problem is that Yechiam is stay in siege, and it won't be free until a big operation that will occur next. And this is the memorial that was created in 1969 by a guy, an architect named Yechiel Arad, who lost his brother in this operation right here. So we go to Operation Ben Ami on the name of Ben Ami Fechter from the Carmeli Brigade. So Carmeli Brigade are the ones who are fighting in our region, and what we can see is that we have the city of Akko here, we have the city of Nahariya, as we said before, Shavei Tzion, Regba, Yechiam, Eilon, Chanita, Tzuba. And what happened is that on 14th of May, and to remind you, that's a day before the declaration of the independence of Israel, there is the understanding that the Lebanese army is going to come from the north and help all the Arab communities that are here in the Western Galilee. So at dawn, the Carmeli Brigade came and started doing a lot of things. We're not going to go to it, but the most important thing that they managed to create a path to Naharia, to Matsuba, to Hanita, to Eilon, and basically freeing them and managing them to be a part of the state of Israel, managing them to be a part of the supply routes, managing them to have connection between each other. A few days later, Yechiam would be released as well, and then it would be easier to create again a path to bring supplies to Yechiam. And it takes just one day of fighting, and there are 3 dead for our troops. But that invasion from Lebanon does not happen because of everything that happened so far. The Western Galilee is a part that nobody thought that could be in the state of Israel. But those guys who gave their lives, those guys who fought for this place, for my home, for other people's homes, for our partnership home, they're the ones that we should say thank you to. Because all those people, all those operations that we saw so far, they made sure that this is a part of the state of Israel. And I cannot be more proud to say that I'm from here and to talk about those people who literally gave their lives so I can have my family here. Apart from those stories, I want to show you just a few more things before we finish. And so I bet a lot of you, when you visited here, you saw this sculpture. And again, I want to go on Google Maps to show you the proximity, and hopefully it will go, to show you the proximity between that statue, that memorial. Okay, so again, here we have the partnership home, the partnership center. So you see over here, we have that monument. And a lot of people are asking what this monument is all about right here. So it's called the sea sculpture, and it was created by a sculptor from Kibbutz Kabri. He's a member of Kibbutz Kabri, Yechiel Shemi, and it was in the memory of the Jews who came as illegal immigrants with their ships. And this specific part right here are from a ship called the Patria, but it was more for the memorial of a ship called Chana Senesh that would be basically just it's not the Titanic, as you can see, but it just blew up, and people swam to shore, and they managed to survive with the help of the people of Naharia and the kibbutzim. But over here, as a sign in Hebrew, it says that would be and always like a bad memory, and it would be on the hands forever, for eternity, on the British for doing this, because this is 1945. The war in Europe has just ended. And it was very important for Yechiel Shemi to have recognition for that. Another site in the Western Galilee that I'm sure that you have not visited is Betzet Airfield in 1941. If you don't know Idan Hapri, okay, in Betzet, then you have to go, because those are the best dried fruits ever in the world. I'm not joking. Okay, all organic, no sugar added, just amazing. And she's amazing herself. And so in Betzet, in 1941, all around Israel, the British are creating those tiny airfields because they are waiting for an invasion of the Vichy army that is in the north in Lebanon. They're in cooperation, obviously, with the Nazis at that time. And so what we can see here is their anti-aircraft basically basis. On this, there was a machine gun, and on this too. Over here, they used to storage planes. And over here, you have underground places for the planes. And they would go and fight the Nazis and the Vichy army and the Italians, the Axis, part of the Axis, all around the land of Israel. But the most significant, I think, thing that happened here is something that is very peculiar. Look at those MiGs. This is 12th of August, 1968. So we already are in the state of Israel. Look at this flag. Try to see if you can recognize the state this flag belongs to. And again, let's pray to YouTube to work well. No, that's not. Yes. Oh, wait, what happened? No, again, share screen, sorry, excuse me. Okay, let's go with, once again, YouTube. All right. So what we can see here is a cool video. You see, this is where they used to put the planes. So those are Syrian MiGs. Two MiGs that came from Syria were had old maps, and they basically didn't know where they're going and what they're doing, and they thought that they're in Lebanon, and they just landed in this strip. And as you can see, it was quite a show for a lot of people, and you can see my kibbutz over here, and a lot of people from my kibbutz as well came to have their picture being taken. And it was quite a thing. And one of these planes is actually in display in Beersheba. Later on, when there will be just exchange with POWs, they will take the pilot and the coordinator back to Syria. Last place I want to show you is here in Shavei Tzion. So I don't know how many of you have been to the Nia Hotel, but if you walk outside from the Nia Hotel and you continue on the road, you would see something like this. And this is actually a reconstruction of a Byzantine church from the 4th century called Nia Kome. And there's not much that we know about it, but how cool is that to have a Byzantine church from the 14th century in Shavei Tzion? So those are the places I wanted to show you and to share with you. And the last part, just a little bit about myself and a little bit about being here on the border. So right here, you can see a blue line. The reason it's marked with a blue line, it's because there are blue barrels on the border that used to mark the border, and then they drew with a blue pen on the map to have the border, and that's why it calls the blue line. So I'm right here on the border with Rosh Hanikah. Living on a border is very subjective. My memories going to the shelter are very, very different than some of my friends, but also could be very different than the memories of the people of Chanita, of Liman, of Betzet, or whoever. And you can recognize the border, and this is our new wall right here, and this is Hezbollah right here. So as you can see, it's very, very close. And the memories that I have, oh, wait, no, that's not what I want. I just did a spoiler, but that's fine. This is what I want. Okay, this is my kibbutz. Actually, this is where I grew up. This is right here. That's my mom's house. That's my mom's car, actually. But this is where I grew up. This is my childhood view. The Mediterranean, the grottos right here. And the kibbutz was very peaceful in all of the wars. We barely had any missiles coming into our kibbutz because today Hezbollah will be over here, but they cannot shoot like big missiles to our kibbutz because it's not going to come out good. The kibbutz is embedded with structures like this. This is a bomb shelter. It's a very deep and big bomb shelter. And for those of you that have been in Discovery Partnership, we've been to one of those. My kibbutz have new infiltrating of terrorists throughout the 70s and 80s. And for me as a kid, I remember very vividly those times when you're supposed to just take all the lights down and sirens, and it just when Israel was in south of Lebanon, that was a difficult time because it was time of machine guns and aircrafts every day and sirens every day. But you know, I remember that time very fondly, especially the time at the bomb shelters, because that would be the time that we get pizza. We used to have a kibbutz dining room, you know, the food wasn't that great, but in this time you get pizza, you get to stay up late, you get to see a lot of TV. And even in 1996, I think it was, or 97, I can't remember, there was a full operation of almost a month in Lebanon. So they took us away and we studied at the Krayot. But again, you saw the history of the people who fought to be here, to make sure that this place would be a part of the state of Israel. And we're not going anywhere. And we're here to stay, and we're here to stay in peace. And that's why I would like to end this presentation with, wait, another failure with, let's go to the end, it would be easier. As I said, I'm not really good with the technology part. I'm good on being outside on the field and talk. But as the song says, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. So this picture is from the wall next to Shtula between Israel and Lebanon. You have that Arabic girl, you have that probably Jewish guy reaching hands. And I think that we have to be grateful for the people that made sure that the Western Galilee would be a part of the state of Israel, always looking to the future, sending a hand for peace, because I really swear it's not too late. So thank you very much for listening. And now,
anyone, if you have questions,
now we can
this is the time.
Stop share. All right.
Thanks, Idan. I think it was beautiful and so informational. I feel like no one has any question because it was so good. But really, this is your time now to broaden our horizons with your questions, or you know what? Where do you want to go next time? Challenge Idan. What spot in the Western Galilee? What time in history?
I'll talk.
Go, Judy.
I always talk. Anyway, it was great, Idan. And especially a group of us that are watching now had been on the partnership Discovery, Western Galilee Discovery trip. And so we spent time with you. It was wonderful. And oh, hey, look, Hannah's here. You guys say hi to Hannah Katz. It's my daughter in Tel Aviv. Hi, honey. Anyway,
Here now.
I want to do, here's what I'm going to come up. We're going to have you show us all the monuments, you know, personally, our family. I know my husband and I would love to tour and see these monuments and memorials because it's something you just kind of drive by generally because we don't have time. So that is definitely something that I want to do. But this was great. And, you know, I love learning about Hanita. I mean, we all know Hanita because of Julius Distillery, but to learn the story, and I'd like to go to the museum there. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Anyone else is invited to speak. You're all on mute. If you're trying to say something, we cannot hear you. Either you can just, you know, press the space bar, it unmutes you, or press the microphone to unmute.
Liz and I were in the Baha'i Gardens last time, and that was very interesting. I'd like to learn more about that and about the Baha'i and
the burial site.
The burial site there.
So I think there is a tour in Akko very soon. I'm not sure if it's going to be talked about it then or not, but we have an expert for Akko that I'm sure that can give so many answers to any questions that you might have on that ground.
We'll talk about it in the tour of Akko.
So here you have Daniel, that he is a very experienced tour guide that will give you everything you need to know about the Baha'is.
I have to say, every day I'm going to the office and I see the monument of the shipwreck. I see the sign saying Yad Layad. And thank you for, now I know what it means. Thank you. Really. Thank you so much. It's very, very good.
Idan, I have a question.
Yes, Marcy.
I'm wondering, this was fantastic, and I was on another Zoom meeting, so I was trying to do both at once. And I mentioned this to Heidi, I wonder if there's a way that we could can this talk and provide it to our own communities as we talk about partnership.
Heidi, Gil, you want to take that? Avital?
Gil, this is recorded, right?
This specific call is recorded.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is what Marcy was talking about.
Okay,
but talking about, because this was fantastic and I learned so much, you know, in and out, and I'm just wondering how we can really take what you've offered.
I can tell you for me, for example, well, I did that was a few years ago, I did a Zoom call with Youngstown, Ohio at like 2 a.m. So if I am being required to wake up at 2 a.m. to have a Zoom call with the states for people to have more people, then yes, absolutely, no problem. If that's what you're.
I'm not talking about live. I wouldn't ask you to do that unless I needed you to drive me somewhere. No, what I'm asking is that we can have, you know, put together a presentation as you did. And make it available, but a shortened, a condensed, that we can
I'm sure we can do this. Yes, yeah. I'm sure we can do it.
That's fantastic.
Marcy, actually, Marcy, what we also are working on, we got some great material from Albert and the people in Akko, and also from some of the great people in Mate Asher. And Danita and I, we will, after the Passover, work more on this material. It's more written material, but what Idan he did right now, like the way he could get the maps together, the video together and everything, it was a lot more fun than what Danita and I we are working on right now. So as I said to you, like we will get our heads together and we'll be happy also to hear more of your ideas right after Passover, because like now when we enter this virtual world now, and we will see how we can maybe provide you more things like this. Also, if it's recorded in a different way, but we'll think about it, Marcy.
Okay.
Idan, you were excellent. It was much more than I could ever have dreamt of, and much higher than I could ever have expected. Like, you are just our shining star as always.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, partnership.
Thank you, Idan.
It was again, it's my privilege, and I am just proud to be born and to be raised in this region, and I'm proud to talk about our heritage as much as any guy from Jerusalem would be proud to talk about Jerusalem.
Amen to that. After wandering outside with Idan, don't forget to wash your hands, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, Idan.
See you on Sunday, on Thursday in Budapest with Andre.
See you.
Andre is on the call, so maybe he can.
2nd of April in Budapest with Andre. Don't miss it.
Thursday.
And Monday.
Thursday,
Monday in Akko.
In Akko.
And don't forget to read A History of Love.
Yes.
I'm also listening, don't worry.
Andre.
I'm here just hiding. Yeah, so stay tuned for the one on Thursday, but after this presentation, I'm a little worried.
I would be too.
Thank you, Idan.
We're looking forward, Andre. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you.
See you Thursday.
Guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.